Welcome back. Today, we're going to be looking at more of the Marvel Netflix shows. I don't really have that much of an intro because I kind of already did it in the first video about these shows, which I highly recommend you watch before this one. And if you don't, I'll hire Nelson and Murdoch and sue you. So let's pick off where we left off with Punisher Season 1. One of the things I found interesting about this was the fact that Frank Castle still has friends and people that he likes. Little surprising that this brooding, bloodthirsty rage machine who has a 50 cal sniper pointed at anyone who so much as jaywalks is a social kind of guy. There's multiple instances where he puts on the charm to the point where I can go, yeah, he's not a complete psychopath. But don't worry, he still manages to rank up a kill count of 100,000. I remember hearing things about the violence in the show being too extreme, and at first I was like, it's the Punisher! Of course it's gonna be extreme! But then it got to the part where Frank cuts off a bad guy's head and straps a grenade to it and then uses it to blow up some other bad guys, and I would like to retract my previous statement. Call me a big ol' puss, but I think Frank stabbing someone repeatedly in the neck and then punching them relentlessly, all before gouging his eyes out, was a little much. I get that he's the big bad and that he killed your entire family, but could you please tone it down a little? You are literally beating a dead horse right now. I really like the new addition of Micro to the main cast, whether that's due to his sad and compelling backstory or the fact that I've always just liked the side nerdy tech guys in media, but I thought he was a really cool character. He's got a very complex relationship with Frank. One second they'll be getting drunk, goofing off, and talking about how much they miss getting railed by their wives, and the next they're fighting each other on how to handle the situation. Same thing with Billy Russo. He's known Frank before he became the Punisher and was good friends with him and wants the best for him despite being a bad guy. He even betrays his boss to help Frank kill him after Russo thinks he was going too far. But he is still a bad guy after all, and he knows how to push Frank's buttons due to knowing him for so long, but that approach doesn't work out so well to say the least. Overall, I give The Punisher Season 1 a 7.5 out of 10. Next up, we'll be looking at Jessica Jones Season 2. One of the things I really liked more about this season this time around was that it felt like more of a mystery. In Season 1, it was shit, this villain's back, how do we stop him? But in Season 2, it's shit, who are these people? The characters don't know who the antagonist is from the very start, and it's just slowly unraveled as the season progresses, and I think it's a lot more fun and engaging that way. And speaking of villains from season 1, I really liked how they portrayed Jessica Jones' inner turmoil of whether or not she's a bad person by having her hallucinate Kilgrave still being there and taunting her and urging her on to kill people. It was a nice little shock to see him return in all of his conniving British greatness. Something I didn't talk about last time was Jessica Jones' adoptive sister, Trish Walker, mainly due to the fact I felt like she didn't do anything noteworthy. But this time around, they slowly build up to her becoming a villain and gaining superpowers, and they do it in such a way that it doesn't feel like she's a villain just because, after being mostly supportive of Jessica in the last season, and it actually makes kind of sense. But that's next season. Right now, the villains are Jessica Jones' mentally unstable, superpowered mom, Alyssa, and her new husband, Dr. Carl Mollis. Personally, I was expecting Carl to be an evil mad scientist who doesn't actually love Alyssa and is just manipulating her for his own gain, but no, he's just a guy. They genuinely love each other. Alyssa just wants to reunite with her daughter and be in her life, but the problem with that is that she's goddamn insane and has anger issues on par with the Hulk. She's not as great or compelling as Kilgrave, but she's still a decent antagonist. I was really liking this season until I watched the final episode. Not because it's bad or anything, it's just very lackluster and boring. And that's best exemplified of how they deal with Alyssa. Instead of a big battle or confrontation, she and Jessica talk for a minute and then Alyssa gets sniped. And that's it. It really brought down the season for me, which is why I'll be giving Jessica Jones Season 2 an 8 out of 10. Next up, we'll be looking at Luke Cage Season 2. Now, this has to be the best thing I've watched for this video. It is a major improvement over the first season. It is amazing. I really liked Luke Cage's arc this time around. Ever since the last season, Luke has become a celebrity, and his arc for this season is learning how to let people in and help. Learn that the fact that while he is bulletproof, he isn't invulnerable. Learn that he can't just keep using his rage and anger as a fuel for his crime fighting. There's an episode where Luke Cage and Iron Fist team up to stop some drug dealers, and I really like this episode because one, heroes for hire, and two, it helps reinforce Luke's arc of not letting his crime fighting be a burden on him. The main villain this time around is a Jamaican crime lord called Bushmaster, and he is a major improvement over Diamondback of the last season and serves as a good antithesis to Luke. The whole season, he's trying to get revenge on Mariah and take control of her criminal empire out of revenge for his family. And in order to accomplish this, he starts consuming excessive amounts of nightshade, or as I like to call it, the super soldier herb. Bushmaster is very threatening and deadly, and yet he has that social charm and actually has an upstanding in his community. And he kind of goes on the same journey Luke does and decides to stop his quest for vengeance after his uncle dies and because of the negative effects of nightshade on his body. And even then, that quest for vengeance is kinda justified. Mariah does so much diabolical crap that you kind of agree with him. She kills everyone in a local bar Bushmaster's uncle owns, starts heroin dealing, and straight out tells her daughter that she hates her. She's so despicable that even other crime bosses are concerned, as they should be because Mariah is so damn threatening. The sheer rage and evil that Alfre Woodward's performance oozes with is just peak. And the ending of the season is just insane. Mariah gets sent to prison, and with her gone, Harlem turns into an all out war zone, with every gang and crime syndicate viciously battling for control of her territory as if it was the promised land. And Mariah, while in prison, decides that this isn't enough bloodshed and has her lawyer put a bounty on anyone and everyone who's ever been associated with her. Luke Cage visits Mariah in prison, but she gets poisoned by her daughter beforehand. And when she asks Luke Cage if he'll save her, he outright says he's done all the saving he can do and she dies in his arms. And when Mariah's will is read, it's revealed that she's decided to give her territory to Luke Cage in the hopes that he'll be driven mad by the power and become no better than her. I was legitimately shook after watching this. It was amazing. Overall, I give Luke Cage Season 2 an 8.5 out of 10, and next up, we'll be looking at Iron Fist Season 2. While not as good as everything else in this video, and it does start off pretty slow, it's still an improvement over the first season. One of the things that was done better, in my opinion, was the action. After the criticisms of the action from the last season, Marvel decided to get the guy who did the fight choreography for the first Black Panther movie to work on the show, and he did a good job of making the fight scenes a lot more fun and fast paced. They also have a way better villain in the form of Davos. Davos was introduced in the first season, but he didn't do that much and was more or less there to build him up for season 2. And boy howdy, did they deliver. We get to see how much resentment he has towards Danny because we get to see how much pressure Davos was under to become the next Iron Fist. His whole thing for the season is stealing the fist from Danny via some magical ritual and to be the crime fighter Danny could never be. This crusade of his stems from his feelings of doubt and not being good enough, and when he finally steals the fist, he essentially becomes the Punisher but with chi powers. He feels on top of the world, he's finally found his purpose in life, and he's not letting it go no matter what. You feel for the guy based on how much rigorous training he was forced to do to become the next Iron Fist and how his family basically turned on him when he didn't win. But at the same time, he trains a bunch of kids to aid him in his ventures and forces them to kill each other to prove their loyalty to him. And when Danny loses the fist, it causes him to self reflect. For the longest time, he's been letting the Iron Fist essentially control his life and how he became obsessed with its power. He knows he can't let Davos have it, but he can't take it back either. So the show ends with Davos being stopped and the mantle of Iron Fist going to Danny's girlfriend, Colleen Wing, and Danny leaving with Ward to try and figure out who he is without the fist. I thought it was a really cool arc for him to go on, and it also sets the stage perfectly for a possible season 3 by having Danny start to learn more and more about the history of the Iron Fist and the previous people who have wielded it. Overall, I give Iron Fist Season 2 a 7.3 out of 10, and that's all we'll be looking at for today. Thank you so much for watching, but I'd be even more thankful if you tune in next time for the final part in this little series of mine. Make sure to like, subscribe, and once again tell me how wrong I am about Iron Fist in the comments below. Okay, bye.